Good. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the Study Abroad Basics for Parents. My name is Chelsea Hodge, and I am the Director of Grants and Research Innovation for the Honors College. And one of my roles in Honors is to help honors students in their path to study abroad. And I also help manage the grant funding that we have available to students to help them fund this experience. And I am joined today by my colleagues in the Honors College, Dr. Louise Hancock, and from the Office of Study Abroad, Madison Barnes. Do you all want to introduce yourselves really quickly?
Did you introduce me, Chelsea? I'm sorry.
No, you go for it, Madison.
Okay, I have a little bit of a lag. So, hi, I'm Madison Barnes. I am an assistant director in the Centralized Office of Study Abroad, and I work specifically with our faculty-led external and exchange programs, which will make more sense to you here shortly when we go into our program type.
And I'm Louise Hancock. I work here in the Futures Hub with Dr. Hodge, and I help students a lot on the career side of things. And I'll be managing the chat. So if you have any questions or problems, you can reach out to me and I can assist you.
So the purpose of this session is really to give parents kind of a foundational set of information about what study abroad is, what options your students have, and then what resources are available to your students to help them in this process, to support them before and while they are abroad, and then also to help them fund this experience. So hopefully this will give you great information to better support your student in their journey to study abroad, and also give you people that you can reach out to with questions in the future. So this first slide, I like to start my presentations to students with this slide. This is me as a sophomore at the University of Arkansas almost 2 decades ago, studying abroad in Italy. And I share this with students and tell them the story about how when I studied abroad, I had never been outside of the country. I had flown on a plane one time in the 5th grade, but I came to the U of A really determined to study abroad. This was a dream of mine and something I knew the university could help me do. That being said, when my dad dropped me off at the airport for me to fly over to Italy, I definitely cried a great deal because it was hard and scary and something really brand new for me. However, it was an incredible experience and one I look back at with a lot of fondness and gratitude. This picture here with my friend Brooke became a lifelong friend of mine all these years later from study abroad. And I have since traveled internationally all over the world to 5 different continents, sometimes even by myself. So even if your student is a little nervous, a little hesitant, they can choose a program that's going to provide them a lot of support and guidance. So even if they cry in the airport, they can still have a really fantastic and great time. So what is study abroad? Study abroad simply means that a student goes to another country. They have an experience there that is credit bearing, and those academic credits transfer back to the university and contribute to their degree in some way. There is a lot of diversity when it comes to study abroad programs, but what they all have in common is that they carry academic credit. If a student is not receiving credit for their experience, they're not studying abroad, they're just abroad. The study part is missing. So that is what every program will have in common. There are a lot of great reasons for students to study abroad. Hopefully, just the fact that you're here today means you are already supportive of this. But in case you need more support, studying abroad is going to help build your student's resume regardless of what they want to do after graduation. It's a really great way to demonstrate to grad schools, med schools, employers that they have these intercultural competencies. And these are core competencies in career preparation and med school preparation, and that students can work with and collaborate with people of different backgrounds and cultures than their own. That is going to be useful to them no matter what they do next. There are also studies that show that studying abroad helps boost students' GPAs. It's tied to higher graduation rates, and even studies that show that students who have studied abroad have higher starting salaries than students who don't. So some real tangible benefits as well. I also tell students that studying abroad is just a heck of a lot of fun. And it's maybe the only time in their life that they can go for 2 weeks, a month, a full semester, and have this really immersive, embedded experience and get other entities like the Honors College to help them pay for it. Nobody is trying to give us money to go to Paris for a month. That is something very unique to the undergraduate experience, and one I hope that students will take advantage of while they can. And we want to reassure students that study abroad is for everyone. There are hundreds of study abroad programs to choose from, and we're going to go over kind of the big categories of those with you all. Students get to choose, though. We do not limit students to just, a small set of programs. We really lay them all out for them and help them with that process of choosing which program is right. And by that, I mean the length of time that they're comfortable with, the level of support that will help them succeed, the credits, the classes that will actually help them with their degree, a program that fits within their budget, all of those factors. And those students can absolutely study another language while abroad, which is a wonderful use of a study abroad experience. They don't have to. You can go almost to any of our study abroad destinations and take classes in English and really navigate and make your way around even without speaking a lot of the local language. So we want to reassure students there. Every single major can study abroad, and there are programs that will have classes that are specific to their degree for every single major. Now, that being said, some majors are going to have greater flexibility than others. A student in history will have a lot more program options than a student in chemical engineering. But that student in chemical engineering can find a program that fits into their degree. It may take more careful planning, more meetings with advisors, and not quite as many options as that history student, but it is still very much possible. However, students are not limited to their major. They can do a study abroad where they take university core classes that are still required for their degree, general electives that they need to get to the 120-hour requirement to graduate. They can work on a minor, a language requirement. They can take classes simply that they find fascinating and fun. So the Honors College will fund students to do programs in their major as well as programs outside of their major, as long as they can make an argument, a justification for how those programs will benefit them. One question I get from students all the time is, how long would I actually be gone? The shortest amount of time a student can go is an intersession. So that's 2 weeks or roughly 2 weeks in January, May, or August. The intersessions happen in between our kind of full terms of fall, spring, and summer. And these are a great option for students who don't want to be gone for a long time or can't because they have other opportunities like internships that they want to pursue over the summer. Intersession programs offer 3 credit hours, and they are action-packed. You do a whole lot within those 2 weeks to make them worthwhile, worth your time, and worth 3 credit hours. But they're action-packed with a lot of fun, experiential type of learnings. They're not just sitting in a classroom 8 hours a day or anything like that. Summer is by far our most popular time for students to go. Summer programs range from 3 to 6 weeks. They can go for the entire summer, more like 8 to 10. Your average summer program offers 6 credit hours, though if they did go for the entire summer, 8 to 10 weeks, they could get up to 12 credits. And students like summer because they don't miss anything here. They're not missing their normal fall, spring classes. It's not quite as much of a hassle to figure out, what classes do I need to take? What classes will I be missing? Making sure that they stay on track to graduate. That being said, we do send lots of students for full semester and even entire academic years. Now, to do that, it does take more planning because, as I said, students will miss classes here. So we want to make sure that they are getting classes abroad that they need that will help them with their degree completion. But that's why they have advisors like us to help them navigate all of that and make sure they don't fall behind in their graduation requirements. I'm a big believer that any study abroad is better than no study abroad. So if 2 weeks is what a student can do or feels comfortable doing, that is still going to be an incredible life-changing experience. But I also say go for as long as you can. So if they can do a longer summer or even a semester, I know that they'll be glad that they did. So now I'm going to turn things over to Madison, who will talk a little bit more about specific programs.
Hello. So we have 4 pathways to study abroad, and these are very large categories. Within each of these categories are a handful to 1,000 different program options. So these is really the large umbrella that we're going to give you examples for today. We have our U of A faculty-led programs. These typically run in those short intersessions or over the summer. Students are traveling with other U of A students, and it's led by a faculty in a specific discipline or major. And so it's a great way to engage with faculty, meet other students in the major. They are pretty concentrated and focused. So business in London or nursing in Tunisia or whatnot. But they are earning U of A credit, and so they know exactly what the class is and how it fits into their degree program. We see a lot of first-time travelers doing faculty-led programs, or students who are looking for one of our shorter, kind of high-impact experience options. We also have our University of Arkansas Rome Center. So in the heart of Rome, in the middle of Rome, we have our very own residential study center. It's truly within walking, 20-minute walking distance to the Colosseum, to the Trevi Fountain. And again, our students are there with other U of A students, with official U of A faculty members teaching courses. They might be Italian nationals, but they are U of A faculty members. And this is open to all of our majors. These programs are summer or semester. And again, they're earning U of A credit. So this is another really great option if students want kind of a centralized European hub as their home and then have free time to travel in and around. We also have exchange programs. So this is maybe what you think of when you hear study abroad, the traditional exchange. I'll go to Germany for a semester and someone from Germany will come here to the U of A. And that's true. We do have an enrollment trade-off. They're not going to live in our U of A students' apartments or anything like that, but they're simply swapping enrollment. And so this can sometimes be an affordable option because you're still paying U of A tuition and fees, just like you would here, but then you get to study in Germany or in Spain or in Australia. These are more for our independent students who are ready to handle a lot of the logistics, the immersion, and this is kind of the first time we see transfer credit come into play. And we do a lot of work pre-departure to support students so they know exactly how those transfer credits come back and fit into their degree plan. And finally, if our students are like, none of those options really fit for me and what I'm looking for, we offer a wide variety of external programs. These are companies that we partner with and have official affiliations with as a university. They've been vetted for risk management, for academics, for all the good things, and they really fill in our gaps with locations, majors, terms, and again, our students are earning academic credit. This is the type of study abroad program I did when I was a U of A student, and it was wonderful because I was not only interacting with the local community, but I also met other study abroad students from Texas and Oregon and Maine. And so it was a great opportunity to also network with other American study abroad students beyond just U of A cohort. And this is what was right for me. And again, there's no right or wrong answer for your student. It's simply what fits them best. But these are, in general, sort of these broad umbrella categories that we promote between our program options.
Right, thank you, Madison. We want to highlight just one faculty-led program that your student has the option to do. They are not limited to just this program. We just want to highlight it. And that's the Honors Passport. And this is a once a year, 2-week intersession program, typically in January or May, that's only open to honors students. And that's one of the things that makes it unique. Honor students can do any program, and there are many U of A programs that offer honors credit. They're just not limited to honors students, unlike Honors Passport. But what truly makes the Passport unique is that every year we go to a different place and have kind of a different focus of study. No matter where we go or what the topic is, it is open to all majors, so honor students in any major, and we really love to intentionally take a wide range of students from engineering, business, the humanities, architecture, and everything in between. In summer 2026, we will be doing e-bike Italy. So the students will spend a big portion of the trip on e-bike, cycling through the Dolomites, which is a mountain range in northern Italy. So if you have a student who's really active, who loves to cycle, definitely have them check this program out. It's very unique. It's going to be really cool. It's being led by the director of the Rome Center, as well as a faculty member from Walton College. So the big emphasis is on sustainability and tourism and how all of those things kind of fit together. But again, open to any major. Another type of program that your student might consider is an international internship. So this is also credit bearing. These are unpaid internships where students earn academic credit for the experience, and they are organized through a provider. So one of those external providers like Madison mentioned, or the U of A Rome Center. Students can go to a lot of different countries to do these. The internship is tailored to them specifically. So they apply to a specific city, and then the provider works with them based on their resume, their major, their career goals. They do a meeting with their career counselor to kind of figure out what is the best fit, and then they find the internship placement for the student. They also arrange the student's housing. They provide all of the support that they normally would for study abroad. So the student still gets all of that kind of study abroad support, that international experience, but instead of going off to class every day, they go to their internship every day or every weekday. And what I really love about international internships is they're a great option for students who want to have an international experience, but are hesitant to miss out on the resume building, the work experience that an internship would offer. So it really gives them the best of both worlds. As I said, you can do an international internship in a wide range of countries, but one in particular they could consider is the Honors College internships in Dublin. This is a program that Dr. Hancox and I help facilitate. Again, open to any major. We partner with one of those affiliated providers called API. So everything I just talked about on the previous slide remains true, but they also get to live with a cohort of honor students from the U of A. So they can meet students from other U.S. cities, just like Madison did on her program, but they have the reassurance of knowing that they have met and gotten to know their U of A pals before they ever leave the country. They'll live with them. They still do their tailored internship that's probably different than everybody else, but then they get to come back and have that cohort experience as well. Okay. Madison, you want to take this one?
Yes. Sorry, I was trying to answer the question in the chat, but Louise got me. Okay, so how do you choose a program? We've just said there are thousands of options, and we can go pretty much anywhere in the world deemed safe, and that fits for your student. But really, when it comes down to it, and we are advising students, these are kind of the big things we want them to consider. First, of course, is cost. What are the financial considerations for the student? What type of scholarships might they need to apply for? Or what is that personal finance piece? For some students, this is the most important thing and will drive their decision. And in others, this might be number 2, 3, or 4 on their list. Courses and academics is also a huge piece of this. These are listed in no particular order. But what kind of credit can the student earn while they are abroad? Are they looking for that upper level degree requirement, or are they just looking for a general elective to go do windsurfing in Spain? We offer all of them. Time frame, so how long, which term, how long do they want to be abroad? For me, I had to study abroad in the second half of the summer because in June I was a new student orientation mentor and I had to be back on campus to be a resident assistant. And so my 2 jobs that I had really bound me to a time frame, and I found what worked for me, and it was perfect. So some students are bound by responsibilities, jobs, or maybe just, I can't go abroad for a year, it's too intimidating. The other thing we want students to consider is what type of experiential learning they're looking for in a program. Maybe they want an internship, like Chelsea said, and they want to do study plus internship or just internship. We also have service learning opportunities and research opportunities, so it can be more than just sitting in a classroom. There are other high impact practices that they can build in or build on or just choose as the only option. Of course, the location is also a huge factor in this. What destination is right for the student? Are they prepared to live in a big metropolitan city like London? Or are they looking more for a smaller town like Regensburg in Germany? And so kind of knowing themselves and what they're comfortable with, and their own background of being able to navigate a big city, a small city. Do they want to be by the ocean or the mountains? That might also drive the student decision. And then, of course, there are all kinds of personal considerations, family obligations, work, if they're a member of a sorority or fraternity and they have recruitment, if they're studying for the MCAT or other pre-professional tests that they might need to be taking. These are all important considerations and are really unique to the student. So there is not one size fits all. If you're a biology major, you do this your junior year. It really is up to the student. And as they're exploring options, one or two of these sort of considerations will stand out and will help drive the conversation of what program is right for the student. Timeline. There's a variety of entry points into the system, but generally our kind of rule of thumb is plan early. So at least a year in advance if you can. Try to plan early. Have those conversations about what courses do I want to take? How do I get them to fit into my degree plan? The earlier you plan for that, the easier it is to plan out your semesters ahead of time. So some students don't have that, and that's all right. We do start working on paperwork, so our advising application, about 6 to 12 months in advance. There are some requirements that I think we might explain a little bit later. And then generally, students should have picked a program and be ready to get into the nitty-gritty paperwork, applying for a visa or a travel authorization at least 3 months before they want to go abroad, at least. Generally, we say the 6 to 12 months range is a great time to start planning. And there are several different phases we navigate the student through until they can go abroad. And a lot of our students end up coming home and then plan out another study abroad and rinse and repeat and are ready to go for more, especially some of our honors students or honors fellow students who have different access to funding as well. So what can you guys do as parents or support networks for our students that are preparing to go abroad? Before they leave, so in the process, this is what we're doing, not what parents are doing. I'm sorry, I misspoke. This is what our office and advising team is doing. So before they leave, we're advising them on those program options, helping them narrow it down and what scholarships are available to them. We're also helping them through the application. So just like when students were applying to come to the U of A, there will be several application pieces. You don't get just to wake up and say, I want to do the passport program in Italy and then get to go. There's several steps that go along the way, including applying for a passport and visas if needed. We do pre-departure orientation. So we really go into health and safety logistics, how to be well abroad, what insurance looks like. There's support from all of our academic colleges and their separate advising units. We have really great, what we call study abroad champions across campus who are deeply familiar with our process and what the resources are and can help also support students and get them back where they need to be directed. And of course, we are hosting this session with a partnership of our honors college. And so that's where Dr. Hodge and Dr. Hancock's come into play and really do have an additional support for our honor students that we so appreciate. While students are abroad, the support continues. There's 24/7 on-site risk management support for every student on every program. A member of the Centralized Office of Study Abroad is always on call should there be an emergency. Typically, there are faculty leaders or a resident director who are on site with the students. All students will have an airport reception, an on-site orientation, and most programs have facilitated cultural activities while they're abroad. And then there's also continued support from our office and academic units while they are abroad. So they really are taken care of start to finish and even when they return. So how much does all of this cost? You're like, this sounds great. I'm totally bought in. What are we talking here? And I don't have a great straight answer. It depends. It really depends on where your student wants to go. Costa Rica at Central South America by nature is a cheaper destination than going to Scandinavia or Australia. The length of the program. Are they going for 2 weeks? Are they going for an academic year? How can we maximize the cost for that student? What's included, what's not included? So it can depend, but typically we would say a summer program might range anywhere between $4,000 to $12,000, and a semester program can range from $11,000 to $24,000. Now your student can absolutely go as frugal as they want and find the most affordable program. We also have programs that are the Lamborghinis of study abroad. And if they want to spend $60,000 on their semester abroad, they sure can. I don't know that you would like that, but we can definitely help them find what works for them and their budgets and their scholarships as well. So there's the cost, but how are we going to pay for that? Well, this is where I'm glad Chelsea's going to come in here and talk in just a moment about our honors grant funding. But there's additional funding outside of that. So there are several study abroad scholarships that students can apply for right here on our U of A campus. Every college on campus has a specific fund for study abroad students. Walton, Engineering, Fulbright, Coheb, and our own centralized Office of Study Abroad has additional funding as well. Depending on the program type that the student chooses, there might be a separate set of scholarships related to that organization with the external program provider. If a student is going abroad for a semester or academic year, any existing scholarships and financial aid the student receives to attend the U of A can be applied to study abroad. The Chancellor Scholarship, the Governor's, if you're there on a scholarship from their high school hometown for 4 years, that can apply. Everything is possible and we can stack as much as we can. I also want to call out that there is a few nationally competitive awards that students can apply for, including something called the Gilman Scholarship. This is for students who are receiving a federal Pell Grant, and our office does a lot of support to help through that process since it is nationally competitive. There are several scholarship essays that need to be written and some things like that. But that's another great opportunity for our students. And as Dr. Hodge will explain more shortly, the Honors College has a study abroad grant that can cover up to about 36% of a total program budget. And that budget includes international airfare, the program fee, meals, lodging, tuition, books and supplies, personal transportation, all of that. So we really do look at the full picture of the student experience before we award. So that way we're not just looking at, oh, your tuition's $5,000, but you have $10,000 more of other expenses. So we try to look at the whole picture. Okay, so there are several ways to interpret budgets, and you'll notice if you've started looking on our Hogs Abroad website or have started searching for programs, some of our programs that are U of A administered programs, faculty-led, Rome Center programs, they have an example budget, including what is billable. So billable would be something that the student would pay in their standard workday student account. It would be posted just like regular tuition and fees are. And then there are some non-billable items that the student might pay for upfront or out of pocket or while they're on the ground. And so we really like to divide those two out. And then you get a full total, and that is what we look at when we award scholarships is the total here. Again, external programs, Those providers have a different budget sheet, so you might have to get to it in a different way, but there should be pretty transparent costs about what the tuition is, what's included, what's not included. And if you can't find that, then I've got questions, either about the program or the link your student has sent you. And so we're always happy to help you navigate that and make sure you know exactly what's included and what's being paid for. So, scholarships for study abroad, just like I was saying, they are all posted. If they're awarded through the University of Arkansas, we will post them to Workday students, just like we do all other financial aid. The students won't receive it until the beginning of the term for the program. So if they are doing a summer program, they probably won't get their scholarship posted until late May, early June, because the scholarship is tied to the term in which they go abroad. So that does mean that there are some costs, like international airfare, a passport, that will need to be paid in advance. And so we're hoping that the scholarship, they can reimburse themselves later, though I know that isn't always the most ideal for some of our students. So the scholarship, once it hits the student account, it will pay off any existing charges. So if there's a balance left over from the semester, it will pay that first, and then the remainder of it will pay whatever's left for study abroad. And if they have more than the balance in their account, they will get a refund directly to them of any excess scholarship funds. And so you should definitely look at the treasurer's website for how to set up direct deposit to expedite that process. But there's a lot of great resources there. And so once we post it to the student account, if you have questions about how to access it or what it pays off, we know just enough, but really the treasurer's office will answer majority of those questions or financial aid.
And as Madison mentioned, we offer the Honors College Study Abroad grant, and this grant can fund up to 36% of the total cost of the student's experience. We also have a half award level of funding at 18%, and that's just based on the quality of the application the student submits. And they could also not receive any award. So it is a competitive application, which I'll talk more about in just a second. So the exact dollar amount a student would receive from us would be determined by how expensive their program is, because we are taking a percentage of their specific program budget. And then, as I said, the quality of the application that the student is submitting. The exception would be for our fellows who also receive an Arkansas Distinguished Governor. So if they have both of those awards, then they are still welcome to apply for our study abroad grant, but we limit their award to $500. These students already have a very large financial package from the Honors College. We have over 4,000 honors students, so we're trying to spread that funding to as many students as possible. Students who have distinguished governors and are not a fellow are eligible for the full funding amount, and the same is true for out-of-state fellows or an in-state fellow who just doesn't have distinguished governors for some reason. So hopefully that's clear. If your student receives a Pell Grant, or they are eligible for or receive subsidized loans from the government, then we can award them above that 36%, depending on how our budget allows. We will fund students to do just about any approved program. It has to be full-time, it has to be through an affiliated provider or a U of A program. Couple small exceptions to that, but generally speaking, they just have to be able to justify how that program will benefit them academically and professionally. We offer multiple deadlines throughout the year. These grants are highly competitive in the sense that we have very high expectations for students' applications. We award a lot of money, so often close to $1 million in study abroad funds every year, but we do not fund mediocre proposals, regardless of how much money we have. But because there is such a large amount of money out there, it is worth your students' time to invest effort and time into their application, because they do have access to a lot of potential funding. And we do not make this a mystery. We offer grant workshops. There's a recording of that workshop on the student website that they can access at any time. There's extensive guidance on our website. that they can read. And then we also offer drop-in application review before every deadline. So they can bring their essay draft, their resume, other application components. Our staff will read them and give them feedback so that they can make updates before they submit it. So like I said, worth the time and effort to invest in that application because we want to give them funding, but we just really expect a lot from those apps. I also wanted to show you just a list of the other scholarships that are available through the U of A. Madison mentioned many of these, as well as outside scholarships that your student may be eligible for. So the best way to see these is to go to studyabroad.uark.edu and click on the Fund tab, and it has information about all of these scholarships and hyperlinks to learn more. So now getting into next steps, what should your student do next? The first thing that they can do is attend either a Study Abroad 101 or Study Abroad Basics. So Study Abroad 101 is a session offered through the Office of Study Abroad. Study Abroad Basics is a session that I do for honors students. Either one of those will fulfill a requirement that they have to complete one of those sessions before they can move forward in applying for a program. So I will put in the chat instructions for how your student can access either of these. Just shortly for the recording, Study Abroad 101, they can search for that on UA Success, and Study Abroad Basics is listed on HogSync. So they can find all the times. Study Abroad 101 is offered at least 10 times a week, so there will be plentiful options for them. That's going to give them great foundational information, lots of practical info on their next steps. They should also discuss this with their academic advisor, either in their advising appointment for spring or making a separate appointment to talk about when is the best time to go, what classes would make the most sense for me to take abroad, those kind of questions. After all of this, they can follow up with me, or in the Office of Study Abroad, they have really fantastic peer advisors. Any of us can help your student with kind of more specific information about what program is right for them. Now, that being said, they may have already found their perfect program and they don't need additional advising, and that is totally fine. But if they're feeling a bit overwhelmed by the number of options that they have in terms of programs, then there are people who can assist them with that. To schedule an appointment with me, they would just search on UA Success for my name, and they'll be able to make an appointment. To schedule with a peer advisor, they could search Study Abroad 101 follow-up advising, but they would need to do that after attending one of those initial sessions. Your student and you can look at programs on hogsabroad.uark.edu. You can see all the faculty-led, all the Rome Center. You can search, do filters, kind of see everything that's out there. If they don't already have a passport, we would recommend that they go ahead and start that process of applying. It is a little cumbersome to apply, and then they have to wait several weeks for it to come. So better to just knock that out now and not be stressed about the passport coming in time later. And then finally, if they want to study a world language while abroad, so they want to take any class taught not in English, they will need to have an advising appointment with Katie Sabo, S-A-B-O, and they would just search her name on UA Success and be able to make an appointment with her. You can also encourage your student to attend the Study Abroad Fair that is tomorrow, September 10th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It'll be out on the Union Lawn. We should have beautiful weather. We'll have lots and lots of tables. The U of A faculty-led programs will have tables. The Rome Center will be well represented. I will be there to help students with the grant. And then our external providers, they will have tables, so students can collect tons of great info about potential programs they can do. These are some links to make note of. So these first couple are public websites that you can access as parents, Study Abroad Office, as well as that Hogs Abroad website, which is the repository for all the programs. And then these links at the bottom, you have to have a UARK login to access. So your students can get to these. honorshub.uark.edu is all the information they need about the Honors College Study Abroad grant. goabroad.uark.edu is the Office of Study Abroad's kind of internal SharePoint for students with just additional information and guidance. For you as parents, you might jot down these URLs or follow the QR codes, either just parent guides through our Office of Study Abroad, as well as one from the Institute of International Education. Both of these just have some additional tips and insight for you as parents. And I'll just pause here for a moment to make sure you have time to get to those.
One thing I'll point out really quickly, on the parent study abroad parent guide, it has a note here about privacy. So if you would like to call our office and discuss your student's study abroad program, or call Dr. Hodge and discuss, you do need to be FERPA released on the student account as a third-party release, so that way we can speak to family members or third-party release for the FERPA guidelines from the federal government. So sometimes that can get in the way. So if you don't know if you're FERPA released or not, definitely check your student's Workday account. If you ever want to call or have questions, that will allow us to speak more in detail versus just offer general information in compliance with that law. So there's information on there on the parents guide from the Office of Study Abroad.
Fantastic. So beyond just encouraging your student and sharing with them, the information you found out today about who they can meet with and what meetings that they should pursue, just generally be an encourager. Studying abroad it's a lot of work to get abroad. It's a surprising number of forms and applications and deadlines between advising and the program applications and the grant applications and the visas and the passports. And it can feel overwhelming for students because they are also students and they're in classes and dealing with all of that as well. But I always tell students that I've never had someone come back from study abroad and say, well, it was great, but it sure wasn't worth all the paperwork I had to do, right? If they can persevere through all of that and stay organized, I know that they will be so glad that they did. I also remind students that they can send me an email that says, I know we just met last week and you told me the 5 things I need to do and I can't remember any of them. That is okay. I will repeat the 5 things that they need to do. So if they are ever feeling lost or confused, they just need to advocate for themselves, reach out, and we are happy to help them because it's a big process. And then, as we've talked about before, studying abroad is so much more than just a program fee. So making sure that your student understands the full extent of study abroad, not just how much they need to pay the bill, but also how much they need in their pocket or in their bank account to be able to pay for meals and personal expenses and transportation, things like that while they're abroad. There will also be costs associated with going. They might need to buy luggage or a backpack or really nice walking shoes. Those are also expenses they might not be considering. And what's really important is to know when it is time for you to step in and help. Questions that you can answer as their parent or their guardian about their birth certificate, their passport, helping them book a flight, helping them set up their phone plan, encouraging them through these questions, but also when it is appropriate to step back. Studying abroad takes grit and resilience. These are some of the skills that study abroad will teach them. But if they are relying on you to figure out every single question or problem they face, they're really going to struggle while they're abroad when new problems and hurdles kind of pop up. That's just a natural part of international travel. So we really want to encourage students to be their own best self-advocate, and you can encourage them, hey, I bet you can ask Dr. Hodge that question. I bet you can email Madison, but help them be the one to reach out to us and have that conversation, because I really believe that will help them be more successful in the long run. This last thing that we're going to do is just go over some kind of frequently asked questions that you might have as a parent, and then we'll wrap up. So Madison, you want to take this first one?
Sure. A question we often get is, can I visit my student while they are abroad? And absolutely you can, once their program is done. During the program is not an ideal time to visit a student, especially on a short-term program where they are sharing a room with other students and they're busy when they wake up and when they go to bed. Like, especially on a faculty-led or a Rome Center program, it's really hard to visit during the program. Now, a semester student might be a little bit different depending on their academic calendar, when they might have breaks. But in general, your visit to see your student should not interfere with their set program, activities, or academic experience. And you should not plan to stay in the student's housing at all. So a lot of times we say, definitely turn it into a family trip afterwards. Also giving our students some breathing room to find the cool locations and the coffee shop that they want to show you. They won't be able to do that if you go the first weekend that they're there. So it's always better to let them experience, explore, and then find the time for you or other family members to generally come after the program, if it's short term, or finding the right break in their semester as well.
And Madison, I'll let you do this one too.
Sure. How can I ensure my student will be safe? I talked a little bit about this earlier, but there are some several things that our office does. So first, we recommend, and it's an application requirement, that all students enroll in the STEP program through the U.S. State Department. Stands for Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. And it's a notification system through the U.S. State Department. If anything were to happen in the location they were going to, they would get emergency alerts. And it's also a way for us to know how many U.S. citizens are traveling abroad. Like I said, every program has 24/7 on-site risk management support. There is someone there at any hour of the day that if they need help with something, they can find the person. All of our students will have international health insurance, either through their program fee or as an additional fee. And they might be doubly insured depending on what program they choose with a program provider, but it really does come in handy. I studied abroad in Denmark and I fell off my bike on the very first day and had to go to the hospital in Denmark. And I was sure glad I had that international health insurance and 24/7 risk management support, but I didn't know how to get there or what to do. And my program provider took great care of me. We also encourage all of our students to research their host country. You know, you're going to spend 2 weeks to maybe an academic year there. What are the cultural norms? But what are also the regulations related to health, behavior, or medication? Those are really important to be mindful of before you go abroad. And then always know that our office closely monitors international risk scenarios, and we don't send students anywhere that's deemed unsafe by the U.S. State Department, which has a travel warning registry. And if it's a level 3 or a 4, we don't send students there unless by very special exception and petition. I serve on our risk management team, and I promise that this is always at the forefront of my mind in anything that we're doing as we're developing programs or sending students abroad, and making sure that we're in constant communication with all of our leaders on the ground and following up with students if there is an emergency abroad of any kind.
Okay, so next, can my student do any program? So we've talked about these big buckets of program options students have: faculty-led, Rome Center Exchange, or one of these external provider programs that are affiliated with the U of A. So they can do any of those, and we affiliate with those specific providers because they meet our academic and safety standards. So what we would expect them to provide students in terms of risk management and academic experience. For honors funding, students should look at our Honors Hub website just to double check that that specific program qualifies for our funding. This doesn't happen a lot, but there are a handful of programs through affiliated providers that we have chosen not to fund or that just don't fulfill our eligibility requirements. They can always email me and say, hey, this is the one I'm thinking about doing, just to double check, and I'm happy to do that. There are also providers that are not affiliated with the U of A, and the Honors College will evaluate those on a case-by-case basis to decide whether it is something that we're willing to fund. And we work very closely with the Office of Study Abroad for their recommendation about, that risk management, that academic experience, that kind of thing. There are some providers that we always discourage. That includes Lead Abroad and Semester at Sea. The Honors College will not fund either of those programs. They just don't provide the academic experience that we would expect from a study abroad, and would really encourage students to look at a different provider if they come to you talking about Lead Abroad. Please have them come talk to us before they pay any money for a Lead Abroad program. And can you, the parent, call the Office of Study Abroad or the Honors College with questions? Yes, absolutely. We are happy to help. But just like Madison said a few slides ago, we can only speak in very general terms unless you have a signed FERPA release for your student. That's the only way that we can talk in detail about funding or grades or anything like that. But just to reiterate, we really do encourage students to take ownership of their experience whenever possible. And I'm a parent, Madison's a parent, Dr. Hancox is a parent. We know that there are times that you need to step in and advocate for your child, but if at all possible, have your student do that. That is going to serve them much better in the long run. And we want to help them. We know that this is a confusing and long process to study abroad. So we are willing to meet with them and email with them and answer all of their questions and help them get on the plane. So I know there has been some questions in the chat. If there are any final questions that you want to type in or you want to ask out loud. We'll wait just a moment to see. And while you were thinking about that, that's my email address. So students can search my name on UA Success to schedule an appointment. They can also email me, and when I reply, I have that direct link in my signature. I also have a great graduate assistant that they can meet with if my times don't work for them. That General Study ABR at UARK is a great starting point. With any questions, they will be directed to the right place. Okay, so I see a question in the chat. Is the deadline for summer 2026 also January 23rd? So for Honors College funding for summer programs, we have 4 opportunities to apply: October 1, November 1, December 1, and January 23rd. Students can only apply at one of those deadlines, but they can apply at any of those deadlines. We encourage them to apply at the earliest deadline that they are eligible for and that they are ready for. It is much, much, much more important to submit a really high quality application than it is to submit an early application. So they don't need to bend over backwards to apply by October 1 if they can submit a much better application at November 1. That January 23rd deadline is funding for both summer as well as fall and academic year programs. That is our final deadline for the year. So that is their last opportunity to apply for summer 2026. And yes, thank you for this question. I am really using the word grant and scholarship interchangeably. In actuality, they function the same. They are posted to Workday Student. They act just like any financial aid that your student receives in terms of scholarships. We call it a grant because that's just how in the Honors College we term funding for a specific experience versus just a general academic scholarship. But other departments on campus will just refer to them as study abroad scholarships. And the best thing that your student can do for funding, for honors funding purpose, is to either attend or watch my study abroad grant workshop. I'm doing one today at 2 o'clock in just an hour, but there is a recording of that workshop on the Honors Hub website that they can access. So even if they can't come to one of the in-person workshops, they can watch it online. That goes over deadlines, application processes, and then in a lot of detail, I talk about what we are looking for on each component of the application. All right, well, we will share this recording as well as the slide deck with everybody who registered. So just in case you missed something, but if you have any questions in the future, please feel free to reach out or send your students to us. We would love to help them get abroad. Anything you want to add, Madison?
No, thank you all for joining us. I did just drop a link in the chat before you log off that has the link to the scholarship application, and it outlines all those deadlines. So that's where your student will apply if you want to nudge them with that link. They'll definitely get it in other places, but just so you guys can see it as well. Thank you for joining us, and yeah, please don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions. I'm more than happy to follow up on a call, answer specific things, or get you connected to the right person in our office as well.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.